As a philanthropic foundation operating nationally in Canada, we have been field building for some time around social innovation, social finance, or impact investing, really in the belief that philanthropy on its own cannot accomplish systematic change at the scale which is needed. And so we are increasingly working in collaborations with other foundations, with governments, with our community sector partners, and with the private sector to move big issues. So we're interested in public sector innovation. We are increasingly partnering with governments to develop not only their capacity, but our collective capacity. The relational space between civil society and governments is challenging in many countries. In Canada, we've just come out of a period when there was very little going on between the community sector and our federal government, other than political audits that kind of cast a chill over the sector. Philanthropic foundations have a responsibility to fund experiments, to take risks that government, frankly, can't easily take, to think long term. I mean, we manage endowments that are, in a sense, a financial conversation across generations. So working with long-term perspectives, the ability to take risks, and to convene people from all sectors in humanity's interest is something that I think that foundations do well or can do well, and certainly for us in Canada now, we think we have an opportunity to do something quite different, to build social infrastructure designed to meet the challenges of our times. There's an incredible opportunity here to lead and to build an economy designed for the long term. So we sit right in the middle of that in Canada. It's a complex and challenging space to be in, and I appreciate that for any political leader in Canada now, there's some very difficult trade-offs to handle. But I think we do have to accept that there is something called the Sustainable Development Goals that 195 countries have signed on to. We all have a responsibility to get there. Now, what's missing between where we are now and where we need to get, I think, is public understanding of what the steps are, what the phases are that we have to go through. If we're going to get to where we need to be by 2030, then we have to make some tough decisions today, 5 years from now, 5 years after that, in order to, I think, assure ourselves that we're on the right track and that we're sharing the load, that we're collectively taking responsibility for getting from where we are to where we need to be. And to do that, we need really good dashboards, communications that show, here's where we are, here's what we've got to get, here are the options for getting there. Let's have a discussion about that. Let's publicly agree on who's going to pay the price. Let's share that, make sure that we're not privileging any one group, that we all take responsibility collectively. And let's imaginatively take this on. And there's lots of things that we can do in terms of energy conservation, in terms of retrofits, in terms of not wasting food, that really will make us a healthier society overall. So it's a tremendous opportunity to lead and to build an economy for now and for the future, for future generations. I don't want to suggest that this is a time for excluding options or not spending time on R&D, because it's important to be experimenting. And so giving ourselves permission to fail quickly and learn is important. Obviously with a sense of urgency, with a sense of the timing and the importance of moving forward, but building the relationships of trust that enable systemic change to happen without that snapback or without that election of a populist leader who might try to deceive us around what the real challenges are. I think that's the price we have to pay. We just did a series of reflections at the Foundation on what we're learning as we navigate this very, in a sense, challenging time. And one of those lessons was about social finance. And the card we prepared originally said, social finance begins with a plan. And what the artist we worked with did was scratched out plan and wrote empathy. That's really an important principle for us in doing this work. I am actually struck every day by how much energy, hope, passion, commitment, intelligence, and ingenuity the current generation of young people, and I know these are not all young people in the room, but I think we all feel a sense of calling in this time. And so I just want to say thank you. If I have anything to share by way of advice here, it's that it's okay. And in fact, it's part of the nature of this work, that you are going to feel personally demoralized, depressed, anxious, and so on. And that's okay. That's part of the nature of being in this work at this time. Mindfulness practice, walks in nature, time with your partner or your animals or whatever, you need to build that into your practice, even though you're working 70, 80 hours a week, many of you, as I do, because we feel this sense of urgency. So, but let's be generous with ourselves and supportive. Let's create humane conditions in which to work, and I think we'll be better off in the long run.